Hey, Access Church, just want to give you a quick word of encouragement. During our week, we have a kids series going on, and during that kids series, we talked about Joseph. And I think that even though as adults, those for kids, I think we can learn from that lesson that we talked about. We talked about Joseph, and if you don't know about him, really quick, the guy went through a lot. He was sold into slavery. He was wrongly accused by Potiphar's wife. All these different things happen. He ends up in jail. All these different things happen. And during those times, if you're being, you sit back and think about the human element of it, you'd imagine that when he was going through it, it was tough. I'm sure that he went through times of just feeling discouraged. I'm sure that he didn't like where he was. But in those times, he trusted in God. And when we were talking about that, we went to a scripture in Galatians 6:9. It says, "And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap, if we do not give up." You see, one of the ways that we can do good, sometimes, we think of all these different, charities and all these different ways that of acts of doing good. But one of the best ways we can do good is just by trusting in God. And today I want to remind you to not grow weary of trusting in God. Because Joseph, like someone like Joseph, who went through a lot, who was going through a lot, who had a lot of things thrown at him, even though he didn't like what he was going through, even though I'm sure he was unhappy with a lot of what was happening, he still trusted in God. And because of that trusting in God, that is what got him through. That is what brought him to the end. And if you know the story, at the end, Joseph becomes one of the highest people in all of Egypt and overcomes all of that, ends up saving Egypt and everything. And, the story goes on from there. But it was because of his initial trusting in God in his heart to say, you know what, God, even though I don't like where I am right now, I'm going to trust in you to get me through it. And that's what brought him to the end. That's what got him to where he ended up. So today, I encourage you, let's focus on being like Joseph, even though you might not like where you're at right now, even though you might not like what's being thrown at you. Trust in the Lord.